Hi guys, and welcome to a new video. This week I finished my sketchbook and I've had this one for 7 years. I know it still looks like it's in very good condition, but I never take it outside and I don't use a lot of wet media. So yeah, I'm really sad to put that back on the shelf because I've been with it for so long, or it has been with me for so long. Considering that I really only have one sketchbook at a time, you can kind of guess from that I've had an on-off rocky relationship with my art throughout the years. And there just have been times where literally nothing happened. I remember a conversation I had with an older lady several years back, and she said that one of the things that she regretted about her life was that she didn't make more art. And at the time, I thought that that was a really odd answer. And only now I'm trying to understand it. Sometimes I think we're really bad judges of how much something means to us and why. And with art, it's just taking me the longest time to get it. I'm simply not healthy when I'm not creating. On the one hand, it's a sign of health, but then on the other hand, it's also a remedy for me to feel better. Either way, this is all just to say that I may not be the most productive artist in the world, but I'm pretty experienced at picking up a pencil after a long period of time of not creating anything. This video is not a how-to. This is just me trying to tell you what I'm going through when I've had a long break from art. The things that I feel, the things that I do, and it's really not a how-to. It's just what I'm doing, feeling. Now, usually what happens is that I feel a huge burst of motivation to create something. And usually that means something really complicated, like a portrait or so. But of course, if I don't feel this burst of motivation, I'm not even going to bother because it's just not on my mind. It's not in my system to be creating. So this huge burst of motivation is pretty much the starting point for me. And yes, the motivation means that I want to do something really good and really big and really complicated. And it's actually pretty easy for me to carve out a large amount of time to begin because in that moment it's a really big priority to me. So because I've been on a long break, I acknowledge that I will be rusty and that I won't be as fast as I usually am. But I know and remember enough tools and rules to help me get over the hurdles that I usually encounter. And that makes me able to focus on the part that's really fun for me. Now, the end result of the first piece of art is usually a little bit stiff, but there are enough details in it and enough about the process that makes me remember that I still got it. I don't know. And the actually really tricky part are drawings number 2 and 3, because that's when it becomes painfully obvious that I have been neglecting the practice side of things for a long time. You know, the initial motivation wears off and, you're focusing more on the flaws all of a sudden than on the fun that you're having while you're creating. Now, during this part of the process, it's very important that you remember that your skills are still there. They're just dormant. They're sleeping. You have to reawaken them. And by you, I mean me, because this is not a how-to tips and tricks video. Now, what really helps me during this step is to just create something for the fun of it. Usually that's for me some kind of loose illustration style, abstract style with colors. Just something for the pure fun of it. There's no judgment here. Or another fun thing is to try out a new medium or a medium that I'm not really very experienced with. Yes, so for me, these can be abstract doodles or little illustrations, something like that. And the reason is that I don't feel like I own abstraction. I don't own illustration. So for me, there's not much of an inner critic to keep me from doing it. I don't get bogged down if it doesn't turn out perfect. And that's really the goal here, to just create without fear or shame. Now, after this phase sort of ends, I usually get back to wanting to improve my skills. And in order to do that, I usually pick an exercise that I've done before and that I know helps me. So getting back to the example of portraits, I know that construction lines really help me to get the proportions right. Now, I want to say that this is still fun for me. I really like the learning and improving part of art. It's really one of the bigger reasons why I'm doing it in the first place. I just really enjoy the process of picking a single thing and devoting time to it and trying to get better at it. So this may be different for you. I don't know, maybe you enjoy more the creative side of things and just expressing yourself. But for me, the learning part is a very big motivator for me in general. It is frustrating, but it's good. I like it. What I will say though, that it's very important to not pick too many things you want to improve on at once. It's really good to just focus on one thing, at least for me. Again, it's not a how-to video. For me, it's important that I pick just one thing that I want to improve on at a time. So when I construct faces with the help of guidelines, I don't render these faces to perfection. It's really just about getting the rough outlines done, and then I move on to the next phase and spend my time like that, and I don't go into detail at all. So I basically repeat this exercise over several days until I feel like I'm ready to move on to a different step. Now, to keep me motivated through this, I usually jump back and forth between the steps. So if I don't really feel like constructing faces at the moment, I'll go back to the doodling thing and just do a little bit of that and just experiment with colors or so. I just try to keep it interesting for me. What also helps is to just do something really simple, something that I feel at ease with, just to regain some confidence, I guess. Now, all of that sounds like I planned it that way, but this is not the case at all. I just do what feels right at the moment, and this is just me analyzing it in hindsight. That's usually the steps that I go through, and as I said, I jump back and forth between them a little bit, but yeah, this is really how it works for me most of the time. Now, if this were a tips video, the one thing that I would say is figure out your easy go-to. Like when you're feeling a little bit of a hurdle coming up and the struggle is real and you feel like giving up and you just don't have it in yourself to push through at that point, go to something easy, something that feels familiar to you, something that you can just pump out and you know it gives you some sort of feeling of accomplishment. Just something that you enjoy, something that reminds you of why it's fun to make art. Now, this goes without saying, but I'll say it anyway. It's not helpful to beat yourself up. Yes, your skills will probably be rusty, but it's really just that. They're not gone. You can pick them up again and dust them off and, start from there. I kind of like to compare it to a language that you learned years ago. For me, that would be French. I learned it years ago in high school, and I haven't used it since. I still understand it, though, when I'm reading. But if you were to ask me to have a conversation with you in French, I would be basically not able to do it. But if you said, hey, let's have a conversation in 1 week, and you give me that time to prepare, you'd probably be surprised comparing today's conversation with the one we'll have in a week, because it's much easier to dust off knowledge that you already have, which is just somewhere hiding in your brain, than to just pick up something completely new. So I kind of feel like art making is very similar to that. So your skills are not gone, they're still there. Always remember that. Now, I guess this is also different for everybody, but going through your old art can be motivating if you think, yeah, I want to do that again, but it can also be frustrating if you are not currently able to get back to that level. But yeah, just view it as something, yeah, I can get back to that pretty quickly compared to the years of building up to that point. And yeah, then you can exceed that if you keep with it. And with that being said, I hope you'll have a creative day and thank you for watching.